Well, today we're diving into Chipotle's Q3 2024 earnings call.
Yeah, we've got the transcript right here.
We do, and some market analysis too.
Yeah.
And gotta say, the initial reaction is a bit chilly.
Oh, yeah.
Their stock CMG took a dip after hours.
Yeah, a pretty significant one.
Almost 8%.
7.87 to be exact.
So not exactly the celebration
Not really, no.
you'd hope for after an earnings call.
Right.
So what's behind this drop? What's got investors hesitant about Chipotle?
It seems like the market was hoping for a bit more.
Okay.
In terms of same-store sales growth. They did report a 6% increase.
Yep.
Which, it was driven by over 3% transaction growth.
It's not bad.
But yeah, analysts were hoping for a little bit more.
Interesting because they're still projecting mid to high single-digit same-store sales growth for the full year.
Right.
And they're aggressively opening new restaurants.
Still on track for, what was it?
On track for 285 to 315 this year?
Yeah, 285 to 315.
And even more next year.
That's right.
That doesn't sound like a company slowing down.
No, their growth strategy is definitely full steam ahead.
Yeah.
International expansion, in particular, seems to be a big focus for them, especially their partnership with the Shaya group in the Middle East.
Yeah, their first Dubai restaurant just opened this month.
That's right.
It's already exceeding expectations.
It is.
So, are we seeing Chipotle on its way to becoming a truly global brand?
It's certainly looking that way.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me is they seem committed to their core strategies,
Right.
even with the new interim CEO.
Yeah, Scott Boatwright stepping in.
That's right.
The departure of Brian Niccol was definitely a surprise.
It was, yeah.
Has this transition had any noticeable impact on their direction?
It doesn't seem so. No.
Right.
Boatwright, who's been with Chipotle for 7 years now,
Right.
leading their restaurant operations, he emphasized during the call that their core strategies are remaining unchanged.
So we're still looking at that ambitious target of 7,000 North American restaurants,
That's right.
continued international growth,
Yes,
and those impressive $4 million AUVs.
precisely.
They're not shying away from menu innovation either.
Yeah, the return of smoked brisket is generating a lot of buzz.
Yes, it is.
And importantly, it's exceeding expectations on the sales front.
Yeah, smoked brisket.
It's a fan favorite for sure.
Always a hit.
Always.
But it's not just driving sales, is it?
No, that's right.
Didn't they mention it was also good for their margins?
Yes, it's a high margin item, which is key in the current environment, with inflation still a concern.
For sure.
And speaking of which, they did address kind of the elephant in the room.
Okay.
The rumors about Chipotle skimping on portions.
Where's the beef debate?
Exactly.
What did they have to say about that?
Well, they confirmed that they have invested in getting those portions back up to their previous standards. So happy customers are posting pictures again. Yes. Of overflowing burritos.
That's what people want to see.
Right. Exactly.
That's what they expect from Chipotle.
Exactly.
And it seems like it's working because they're seeing an improvement in customer sentiment
Cigar.
about value for money.
Much better sentiment about the value.
Yeah, because people want to feel like they're getting
That's right.
their money's worth,
Especially now.
especially with tighter budgets these days.
Absolutely.
Did they quantify that improvement at all?
They did. They mentioned a 500-point increase
Wow.
in positive sentiment scores,
Okay.
specifically related to portioning since the spring.
That's a big jump.
It is
That was clearly
a priority for them.
a priority for them to address those concerns.
Definitely.
It sounds like they're not just relying on bigger portions, though,
Right.
to win back customers.
No, not just bigger portions.
They spent a lot of time talking about throughput on this call.
They did.
So essentially, how quickly and efficiently they can get those burritos and bowls into hungry hands.
Yeah, think of it as optimizing the flow of their operations.
A well-oiled burrito making machine.
Exact.
And they highlighted some progress with initiatives like having a dedicated expo person at the front line
Yes.
to expedite orders.
Expediting those orders.
And they're also integrating technology to speed up food prep.
That's right.
Speaking of technology, they seemed really excited
They were.
about some new equipment they're rolling out.
Yeah, especially that produce slicer. How? Got a standing ovation from their managers.
I don't think I've ever heard of kitchen equipment
I know, right?
getting a standing ovation.
Pretty impressive.
So they explained that this new slicer is going to significantly reduce
Right.
the time spent chopping veggies.
Yeah, freeing up employees to focus more on customer service.
Happier employees, happier customers.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
It does.
And then there's that AI-powered hiring platform.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like they're embracing technology.
across the board.
In a big way.
Yeah, it's like a digital talent scout.
Interesting.
Streamlining that whole hiring process.
But this level of tech adoption is definitely setting them apart from other restaurant chains.
I think so.
So they're using technology to tackle everything from food prep to hiring.
Right.
While still maintaining that food with integrity commitment.
That's key for them.
And that classic Chipotle experience.
Yeah. It's a delicate balance.
It's an interesting balancing act.
It is.
And while the stock market might be a bit spooked
A little bit, yeah.
by the same store sales figures, it's clear that Chipotle is still in growth mode.
Very much so.
Both domestically and internationally.
Absolutely.
So what does all this mean?
Well,
for the average Chipotle fan, what can they expect to see?
Well, I think they can expect to see
in the coming months.
More Chipotle locations.
More locations.
Popping up.
All right. More convenient burrito access.
Exactly.
I'm okay with that.
And probably some new menu items. You know, they're always experimenting.
For sure.
And definitely more technology being implemented to streamline those operations and improve that customer experience.
So more deliciousness.
That's right.
More efficiency.
Yeah.
All wrapped up.
In that foil.
And that familiar Chipotle foil.
Exactly.
But they did touch on some challenges.
That they're facing.
Particularly when it comes to labor costs and maintaining those generous portions in an inflationary environment.
Food costs are definitely a concern for them.
Yeah, they mentioned rising food costs.
Especially for avocados and dairy.
Ouch.
Yeah, those are key ingredients for them.
And then there's that rising minimum wage in California.
Right, which impacts a significant portion of their workforce.
It does.
Yeah, those are some significant headwinds.
Yeah, it sounds like they're walking a tightrope.
It is a balancing act.
Trying to balance affordability for customers with profitability for the company.
It's tough out there.
It is, especially in the current economic climate.
Definitely something investors will be watching closely.
Yeah.
In the coming months.
But for now, it seems like Chipotle is holding its own.
It does.
Continuing to grow, continuing to innovate.
Absolutely.
While staying true to their core values.
Indeed.
Now let's delve a bit deeper into some of the specific initiatives they discussed.
Okay.
Starting with their efforts to improve throughput.
Let's do it. Yeah, they talked a lot about the expo position during the call.
Right, the person who helps expedite orders at the front line.
Right, make sure your burrito doesn't get lost.
Yeah, exactly.
The lunchtime rush.
So what specifically are they doing with this expo position?
Well, they found that restaurants with a dedicated expo person, they're averaging 5 more entrees during their peak 15 minutes.
That's pretty substantial.
It is. It's a pretty big increase in efficiency.
5 extra entrees in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Could make a real difference to their overall throughput. But I imagine it's not always easy to keep that position staffed.
Exactly. That's one of the challenges they talked about.
Yeah.
The crew member assigned to Expo often gets pulled away to help with other tasks, like food prep.
Right, which can disrupt the flow.
Exactly.
So how are they addressing that?
Well, they've started having a manager stationed at Expo during peak hours.
Interesting.
And that's helped to increase the number of restaurants with a dedicated Expo person to over 60%. Compared to just over 50% last quarter.
So more managers on the front lines,
right,
helping to direct traffic and keep those burrito orders moving.
That's the idea.
It makes sense, but it also highlights the staffing challenges that so many restaurants are facing.
Definitely an ongoing challenge.
Even with a dedicated expo person, they're still facing hurdles with food prep.
Yeah, that was another major topic on the call.
And this is where that food with integrity and those classic cooking techniques come into play.
It does make things a bit more labor intensive.
Yeah, I imagine preparing that much food from scratch every day.
Oh, absolutely.
Could be quite the task.
They talked about teams starting prep work as early as 6 or 7 a.m.
Wow.
You know, chopping vegetables, making guacamole, frying chips, grilling chicken and veggies.
It's a lot.
And of course, those larger portion sizes they've reinstated, that adds to the workload as well.
So are they concerned that this prep work could spill over into peak hours and impact their throughput goals?
It seems to be a concern.
Okay.
And that's where their focus on technology comes in.
All right, let's talk tech.
Okay.
That produce slicer they were so enthusiastic about.
The standing ovation slicer.
When will that be rolled out to all their restaurants?
They said it should be fully implemented by next summer.
Okay.
And it's not just the slicer. They're also testing other technologies.
Gotcha.
Like a dual-sided plancha for grilling and even a robot that cuts and cores avocados.
A robot avocado slicer.
That's right.
Now, that's impressive.
It is pretty cool.
I'm curious, did they mention anything about how this new technology might impact food waste?
You know, they didn't go into specifics about food waste on the call,
Okay.
but it's a good question.
It is, because given their commitment to food with integrity and sustainability, I wouldn't be surprised
I wouldn't either.
if they were considering those aspects as well.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It would. Reducing food waste is not only good for the environment,
Of course.
but can also help their bottom line.
Exactly.
What other tech innovations are they experimenting with?
Well, they're testing an automated system called Hyphen that assembles online orders. Think of like a robotic arm,
Okay.
carefully placing each ingredient into your bowl or burrito
Wow.
based on your custom order.
It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie,
It does, a little bit.
but also incredibly efficient.
Yeah, it seems like they're aiming to automate as many tasks as possible.
It's a fascinating blend of tradition and innovation.
It is.
They're leveraging this cutting-edge technology
Right.
to deliver on those core values that have made Chipotle so popular.
That's right.
Fresh food, customizable orders, friendly service.
Exactly.
And as you mentioned, this technology isn't just about efficiency.
Right.
It's also about consistency,
Yeah, making sure every burrito or bowl meets their standards.
regardless of location.
Exactly. They emphasize that these technologies can really help ensure those consistent portion sizes and quality across all their locations.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about their international expansion plans.
Okay.
That Dubai restaurant opening sounds like a big milestone.
It is. Yeah, they're partnering with the Shaya group.
Right, a leading international franchise operator
That's right.
to expand into the Middle East,
Yeah, and their first 3 restaurants in the region,
including the one in Dubai.
including Dubai, are all exceeding expectations.
They're even outperforming some of Shaya's other big-name brands. They are. That's quite a statement.
It is.
What do you think is driving Chipotle's success
Hmm.
in these international markets?
Well, it seems their focus on fresh ingredients
Okay.
and customizable options is really resonating with customers globally. They're seeing good results in Europe, too.
Yeah.
I think their efforts to better align their menu and operations with North American standards have played a key role.
So they're essentially exporting that classic Chipotle experience to new markets.
Yeah.
While making some strategic adaptations.
Of course.
To suit local preferences.
Exactly. They're not just copying and pasting. They're taking a thoughtful, tailored approach, like each market.
And it seems to be paying off.
It does.
They even hinted at the possibility of opening hundreds of restaurants.
Yeah, in their current European markets.
And potentially thousands over time.
That's right.
Wow, those are some ambitious goals.
They are.
But considering their track record so far,
Hmm.
I wouldn't underestimate it.
I wouldn't either.
And while we're talking expansion, let's not forget about their continued growth.
Yeah, in North America.
They're still opening new restaurants at a pretty rapid pace,
They are.
aiming for that eventual goal of 7,000 North American locations.
That's right. And most of those new locations will feature a Chipotlane.
Their drive-thru option.
Exactly.
Their Chipotlanes seem to be a big part
Uh,
of their growth strategy.
yeah.
Are they seeing the kind of returns they were hoping for
It seems so.
with this format?
They're seeing great success with Chipotlanes.
Okay.
Driving higher sales, increased customer satisfaction.
In today's world, convenience is king.
It is. And Chipotlanes definitely offer that.
It allows them to tap into
Right.
a different segment of the market.
Yeah. Those who might not have the time or inclination to dine in.
Yeah, they want to get their burrito and go.
Exactly.
And their new restaurants in Canada, many of which feature Chipotlanes,
Yeah.
are performing exceptionally well.
Yeah.
They even mentioned that their Edmonton location broke an opening day record.
Yeah, for North America.
That's impressive.
It is.
So it sounds like their growth strategy is pretty well-rounded,
Seems to be.
with a mix of domestic and international expansion,
Right.
new restaurant formats, continued focus on operational efficiency.
A multifaceted approach for sure.
Yeah.
And it seems to be yielding positive results, even amidst those economic headwinds.
Right, but let's not forget, they did address some challenges they're facing.
They did, yeah.
Starting with, let's talk about that stock dip.
Yeah, that 7.87% drop.
Investors weren't thrilled.
Not exactly, no.
It seems tied to those same-store sales figures.
Yeah, they didn't quite meet analyst expectations.
And Chipotle did acknowledge some challenges.
Right.
They mentioned the competitive landscape.
Yeah, how other chains are engaging in those value wars.
That's a tough environment.
It is. Consumers are really price sensitive right now.
And then there's inflation.
Always a factor.
Impacting food and labor costs.
Yeah, absolutely.
They specifically called out avocado and dairy prices.
Yeah, those are key ingredients for them.
And that rising minimum wage in California.
Right, affects a big chunk of their workforce.
Due time.
But they did talk about some steps they're taking.
To mitigate those pressures.
Yeah, like finding efficiencies in their supply chain, streamlining operations.
And they emphasized their commitment
Of course.
to food with integrity.
That's a core value for them.
Even as costs rise.
Yeah, it sounds like they're not going to compromise on quality.
Or ethical sourcing.
Even if it means lower margins in the short term.
That's a bold strategy.
It is, especially when so many companies are tempted to cut corners.
But in the long run, it might be the right move.
I think so. Customers appreciate quality.
They do.
And consistency.
And they're often willing to pay a premium for it.
That's right.
It seems like Chipotle is betting on the strength of their brand.
And their loyal customer base.
So, key takeaway from this deep dive.
Well, Chipotle is facing challenges, but they're not backing down from growth.
Investing in technology.
Expanding internationally.
Holding firm to their values.
It's a bold approach.
It'll be fascinating to see how it plays out.
It will.
They're not afraid to shake things up.
Nope.
Well, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into Chipotle's Q3 2024 earnings call.
Hope you found it helpful.
As always, do your own research.
Absolutely.
Draw your own conclusions.
Always a good idea.
Until next time,
Happy investing.
stay informed.